The fall of Earth. The Galactic Council had always seen humanity as nothing more than an annoyance, a young, reckless species with no place among the stars. For years, Earth tried to prove its worth, showing diplomacy, intelligence, and strength. But the Council did not want another rising power in the galaxy. They feared what humans could become. So they made a decision. Humanity had to be erased. One cold night, without warning, the skies of Earth turned red. Massive alien warships, larger than mountains, appeared above every major city. The Galactic Council had sent its armada, an unstoppable fleet designed for one purpose: to crush humanity. The world fell into chaos. Sirens screamed. Buildings shook as energy blasts rained down from the sky. In seconds, New York, Tokyo, and Moscow were turned into ruins. The people of Earth fought back, but their weapons were nothing compared to the advanced technology of the Council. Fighter jets were swatted down like flies. Tanks melted under plasma fire. Yet, the humans refused to surrender. In underground bunkers, the leaders of Earth gathered. They knew they were outnumbered, outgunned. Surrender meant slavery. Resistance meant extinction. There was only one choice: escape. Dr. Elias Carter, one of Earth's top scientists, had been working on a secret project, an experimental warp drive. It was unfinished, dangerous, but it was their only hope. "We cannot win this war today," he told the world leaders, "but we can survive. We can rebuild. And one day, we will return." The plan was set. Humanity would abandon Earth, scatter across the stars, and prepare for the day they would strike back. As the Council's fleet pushed forward, millions of humans boarded hidden evacuation ships. They left behind their homes, their history, their planet. The last ship to leave carried a message, broadcast across the galaxy. "You fear what we might become. You should. One day, we will return." The Council declared victory. Earth was left in ruins, abandoned and lifeless. They believed humanity was gone forever. They were wrong. Far away, in the cold darkness of space, humanity survived. And in the shadows, they began to plan their revenge. Exile. Humanity's struggle. Darkness stretched endlessly around the fleet of human ships as they drifted through the void, lost and exiled. Millions of humans had escaped Earth's destruction, but their future was uncertain. Food and resources were limited. Morale was breaking. The Galactic Council believed humanity was finished. But humanity had never been so dangerous. The struggle for survival. The remaining fleet consisted of old cargo ships, retrofitted colony vessels, and a few stolen alien crafts. There were no warships, no weapons powerful enough to strike back. The people aboard these ships were engineers, doctors, scientists, civilians who had never imagined they would become the last hope of Earth. On the bridge of the flagship Odyssey, Commander Daniel Voss stood staring at the endless stars. His face was hardened, his mind filled with determination. He was not a politician, not a scientist. He was a soldier without a war to fight. Dr. Elias Carter, the mind behind the experimental warp drive, walked up beside him. "We can't keep running forever, Daniel." "We're not running," Voss replied, his eyes cold. "We're waiting." They had only one chance to survive. They needed a new home, a place where they could rebuild. After weeks of desperate searching, their scanners detected a planet, a rogue world drifting on the edge of the galaxy. It was cold, barren, filled with violent storms, but it had underground water and resources they could use. It was no paradise, but it was theirs. "This will be our new Earth," Voss declared. But surviving on this world was almost as dangerous as the Council itself. Forging a future in the shadows, the planet, later named Exiled, was unforgiving. Temperatures dropped to freezing at night. The atmosphere was filled with toxic storms that could tear through metal. Strange creatures lurked in the shadows, hunting anything that moved. People suffered. Some died. But humans had survived worse before. With every hardship, they adapted. They built underground cities, using the remains of their fleet to construct shelters. They developed new weapons to defend themselves against the hostile environment. And most importantly, they prepared for war. In hidden laboratories, Dr. Carter and his team pushed human technology further than ever before. If the Council thought humanity was weak, they would soon learn otherwise. "We need ships," Voss said one night, staring at the old wreckage of their fleet. "Not just ships. We need something they've never seen before." And so the great project began, the Revenant Initiative, the birth of humanity's vengeance. The Galactic Council believed exile had destroyed humanity. They did not know that in the darkness, something new was being born. Warships unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Using stolen alien technology, human ingenuity, and sheer desperation, engineers designed a new fleet, stealth-based, faster, deadlier. These ships would not fight fair. They would strike from the shadows, silent and unseen. As years passed, the humans on Exile 1 changed. No longer the diplomats and explorers the Council once feared, they became something else, something more dangerous. The weak had died, the strong had risen, and the galaxy had no idea what was coming. The first whisper of revenge. One day, deep in the void, a Council patrol ship drifted too close to the Exile system. It was a routine patrol. The crew expected nothing. Then, without warning, the ship vanished. No distress call, no wreckage, no survivors. For the first time in years, the Galactic Council whispered a word they had thought erased from history. Humans. They thought they had won. They had only created their worst nightmare. The first strike. Humanity fights back. The Galactic Council had long forgotten about Earth. They had moved on, believing their greatest threat was erased forever. Their fleets roamed the stars, conquering new worlds, enslaving weaker species, enforcing their rule without mercy. They had no idea that, hidden in the shadows, something was watching, something hungry for revenge. The Ghost Fleet awakens. On the barren world of Exile 1, deep underground, Commander Daniel Voss stood in a massive hangar, staring at the rows of black warships lined up before him. They were unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen, sleek, silent, and built for one purpose: total annihilation. Dr. Elias Carter ran his fingers over the cold metal of the largest ship, a monstrous vessel known as Nemesis. It was the crown jewel of the fleet, coated with radar-absorbing alloys, equipped with human and alien hybrid technology, and powered by an engine that could rip through space faster than anything the Council had ever built. "This ship," Carter whispered, "is going to change everything." Voss turned to his crew, his voice echoing through the hangar. "For too long, we have hidden in the shadows. For too long, we have let them believe they destroyed us." His eyes burned with cold fury. "That ends today." The fleet had no intention of waging a traditional war. Humanity had learned its lesson. They could not outmatch the Council in numbers, but they could outthink them. Stealth, speed, precision. That was the new way of war. And the first target had already been chosen. Striking where it hurts. The Galactic Council's Outpost 47 was a strategic command station, an orbital platform overseeing one of the largest shipyards in the galaxy. Thousands of Council warships were built there every year. It was heavily guarded, surrounded by defense platforms, and patrolled by elite forces. It was also about to disappear from existence. The Nemesis and a dozen smaller ships slipped into the system unseen, their black hulls bending light around them. Council sensors detected nothing. They were ghosts. Inside the outpost, the Council officers carried on with their routine. They sipped their drinks, monitored their stations, and laughed about the latest conquest. Then the lights flickered. Then the alarms blared. Then the killing began. The Nemesis decloaked right above the station, unleashing a storm of kinetic railgun fire. The ship's rounds punched through the station's armor like paper, igniting explosions in every direction. Smaller human ships darted through the chaos, surgically targeting generators and control centers. By the time the Council could react, half the station was already gone. Desperate, they tried to activate their defenses, but the humans had already hacked their systems. Their turrets turned against them. Their shields failed. One by one, the defending warships were hunted down, their engines torn apart, their crews slaughtered. Within minutes, Outpost 47 was nothing but debris. And then, before the Council reinforcements could arrive, the human fleet disappeared, leaving only a single transmission behind. Earth remembers. Panic in the Galactic Council. On the Council's homeworld, chaos erupted. The news of the attack spread like wildfire. The most secure shipyard in the galaxy had been destroyed, its fleets wiped out by ghosts. They're supposed to be extinct, a furious Council general roared. But the proof was undeniable. The humans were back. And worse, they had become something far deadlier than before. They've evolved, one of the Council strategists whispered, her voice trembling. They're using our own technology against us. They've learned, adapted. The Council, once so confident, now felt fear. Find them, the Supreme Chancellor ordered. Burn their hiding place to ash. But there was one problem. No one knew where the humans were. No one knew how many of them were left. And no one knew where they would strike next. The hunt for humanity. The Galactic Council was in full crisis mode. The destruction of Outpost 47 wasn't just an attack. It was a message. A warning. Earth was back. And now, the entire galaxy knew it. The Supreme Chancellor of the Council, Vrothak the Unyielding, stood in the heart of the Council chamber, his 3 golden eyes scanning the panicked faces of the gathered leaders. "This cannot be," hissed Admiral Cyros, slamming his clawed hand on the polished stone table. The humans were exiled. They had no fleets, no resources, no allies. They should be dead. But they are not, said High Inquisitor Drelsh, her voice cold and calculating. And if they have grown strong enough to destroy a fortified outpost, we have vastly underestimated them. Silence. For the first time in 1,000 years, the Galactic Council felt something they had never felt before. Fear. The Council's response. Within hours, a massive fleet was mobilized. Hundreds of warships spread across the stars, searching for any trace of humanity's whereabouts. Scouts combed through abandoned colonies. Probes scanned the void. Spies infiltrated neutral worlds. But they found nothing. The humans had become ghosts, vanishing into the darkness of space. Days turned into weeks. The Council grew desperate. Every alien world was ordered to report any sign of human activity. Any planet caught aiding humans would be eradicated. And then, they got their first lead. A whisper in the dark. On the remote world of Kelvis Prime, a small cargo hauler was intercepted by a Council patrol. The crew, a mix of different alien species, trembled as armed enforcers stormed aboard. A grizzled captain, Vosik, was dragged in chains before Admiral Cyros. "We intercepted your transmissions." Cyros snarled, his sharp teeth gleaming under the dim lights. "You've been supplying weapons to an unknown faction." Vosik said nothing. Cyros activated a holoscreen. A grainy image flickered into view, a human soldier in black armor, standing in the shadows of a hidden base, shaking hands with an alien smuggler. "Tell me where they are," Cyros growled. Vosik spat at his feet. For a moment, Cyros was silent. Then, with a flick of his clawed hand, he ordered his soldiers to slaughter the entire crew. The message was clear. Anyone who helped humans would suffer. But what the Admiral didn't know was that his fleet had just made a fatal mistake. Because the humans were already watching. The trap is set. Deep in the Veil Nebula, hidden inside a massive asteroid field, Commander Voss watched the intercepted transmission. He stood on the bridge of the Nemesis, his hands clenched into fists. "They're getting desperate," whispered Dr. Carter, his voice heavy with anger. Voss took a deep breath. The Council had shown its cruelty once again. They hadn't changed, which meant humanity had to end them. They think they found a lead, Voss muttered, a cold smirk forming on his lips. Good. Let them come. The humans sent out a single encrypted signal, bouncing off countless satellites, directing the Council fleet toward a barren moon known as Delta 9. It was time to set the perfect trap. The Council falls into the ambush. The Council warfleet descended on Delta 9 like a storm, their ships blotting out the stars. Admiral Xyros sat comfortably in the command chair of his flagship, the Dominator, his claws tapping impatiently against the armrest. "Scan for life forms," he barked. "Nothing, Admiral," a technician reported. "The moon is lifeless." Xyros narrowed his eyes. Something felt wrong. Then, suddenly, every screen in the fleet flickered to black. An eerie voice crackled through the comms. "You are not hunters. You are prey." And then, hell was unleashed. The Shadow War begins. From the darkness of space, the Nemesis and its fleet decloaked, revealing dozens of hidden warships that had been waiting in silence. Human weapons roared to life. Railguns shredded through Council warships. EMP blasts crippled their engines. Shock troops boarded enemy vessels, taking control in brutal close-quarters combat. The Council fleet, so used to being the superior force, was completely unprepared. Impossible. Admiral Xyros snarled as his ships were torn apart. How? A hologram flickered to life before him. Commander Voss stood there, arms crossed, staring at him with cold, unforgiving eyes. "Welcome to the war," Voss said. Then the Dominator was ripped apart in a fiery explosion. The galaxy watches in terror. The news spread faster than light. A Council fleet had been wiped out, not by another empire, not by rebels, but by the humans they had exiled. The entire galaxy held its breath. For the first time in history, the unstoppable Galactic Council was losing, and humanity was just getting started. The war begins. The destruction of the Council fleet at Delta 9 sent shockwaves across the galaxy. For the first time in centuries, the so-called unshakable rulers of the stars had been defeated. Panic spread through the Council's core worlds like wildfire. News channels broadcasted the terrifying reality. The humans have returned. Earth's exiled warriors are striking from the shadows. The Council is no longer invincible. In the heart of the Council's capital world, High Inquisitor Drelsh stood before the Supreme Chancellor, her voice sharp and unwavering. "We underestimated them," she admitted. "Humanity has not only survived, they have become something else, something far more dangerous." The Supreme Chancellor's golden eyes narrowed. "Then it is time we stop treating them as a nuisance." He turned to his War Council. "From this moment forward, humanity is no longer in exile. They are the enemy." And so, the war truly began. The Council's next move. Within days, the Galactic Council declared total war. The greatest war fleets in history were mobilized. Thousands of warships, millions of soldiers, entire planetary resources were funneled into one single objective: find and destroy every last human. Every neutral world was given a choice: help the Council, or be branded as traitors. Spy networks spread across the stars, searching for any sign of human hideouts. Trade routes were blocked. Planets suspected of harboring humans were bombarded without warning. But no matter how many worlds they threatened, the humans remained ghosts. That is, until they finally struck back. The burning of Sether Prime. Sether Prime, a wealthy Council-controlled planet, was considered untouchable. Its orbital defenses were the strongest in the sector. Its fleet, stationed above the planet, was led by Admiral Krelvan, a veteran of over 50 campaigns. He was confident. "It is impossible for the humans to reach us here," he told his officers. "Let them scurry in the shadows like insects. We will wipe them out soon enough." That was the last message he ever sent. Because in the dead of night, The skies above Sether Prime split open. The attack came without warning. Human stealth ships decloaked in orbit, their railguns cutting through defenses like paper. Orbital stations exploded in fireballs. Communications were jammed. Then came the shock troops. Armored human soldiers rained down from the heavens, landing in the capital city. They moved with precision, their weapons cutting through the Exetheri soldiers like they were nothing. The people of Sether Prime, once loyal to the Council, watched in horror and awe, because these weren't the humans of old. These were warriors, ghosts, monsters, avenging angels, and they had come to send a message. When the smoke cleared, the human forces were already gone. Their ships disappeared into the void, leaving only a single message broadcasted across the entire Council network. Earth remembers. A galaxy divided. The Council was in chaos. Half the galaxy was terrified. The other half was inspired. Because now, the truth was undeniable. The Council wasn't as strong as they claimed. And if humanity could fight back and win, then maybe the rest of the galaxy didn't have to live under the Council's rule anymore. Whispers spread in the shadows. Secret meetings were held in back alleys, in the dark corridors of space stations, in hidden chambers on distant worlds. Rebellions began to rise. The Council's enemies, alien species who had once been crushed under their rule, now looked to humanity as a symbol of hope and humanity. They weren't just fighting for revenge anymore. They were fighting to tear the entire Galactic Council down. The Council's worst fear. Back in the Council chambers, Supreme Chancellor Vrothak sat in darkness, his claws tapping against the armrest of his throne. For centuries, the Council had ruled with an iron grip. They had believed themselves to be gods. And yet now, the unthinkable had happened. The hunted had become the hunters. The exiled had become the executioners. And worst of all, humanity was winning. Vrothak exhaled slowly. "Summon the Doomsday Fleet," he whispered. The entire room fell silent. Someone gasped. Someone else took a step back in horror. Even High Inquisitor Drelsh hesitated. The Doomsday Fleet had not been used in over 1,000 years. It was a last resort. A force of destruction so powerful, it was meant to erase entire civilizations from existence. But now Vrothak had no choice. Because if they did not stop humanity now, then the entire galaxy would burn. The Doomsday Fleet awakens. The vast emptiness of space trembled. On the edge of the known galaxy, hidden deep within a dying star system, massive warships began to stir from centuries of slumber. The Doomsday Fleet had awakened. These were not ordinary warships. They were monsters. Each vessel was a relic from a time when the Council had nearly wiped out an entire species for rebellion. Planet killers. Ships so massive that lesser fleets looked like insects beside them. At the heart of this armada was the flagship, the Eternal Wrath. Inside its command bridge, Supreme Chancellor Vrothak stood, his golden eyes burning with cold fury. "This ends now," he declared. Humanity had dared to defy them, had dared to strike at their worlds, had dared to turn the galaxy against them. No more. With a single order, the fleet began its march. Their first target, the hidden human stronghold, the race against time. Far away, in the depths of an asteroid belt, General Marcus Voss stood in the war room of Sanctuary Prime, humanity's largest hidden base. The holographic display before him showed a nightmare. The Doomsday Fleet was moving, and it was coming straight for them. A deathly silence filled the room. The war had been going in humanity's favor, until now. Voss turned to his commanders. "We have two choices," he said. "We run, or we fight." For a moment, no one spoke. Then, a voice cut through the silence. "We fight." All eyes turned to Captain Ilara Kane, leader of the Revenants, an elite human strike force feared across the stars. "If we run, we lose everything," she continued. "We built this rebellion on hope. If we abandon our stronghold, we show the galaxy that we're afraid. She stepped forward, her eyes fierce. We are humanity. We don't run. We make them regret ever crossing us. A slow grin spread across General Voss's face. Then let's make history. The plan. Impossible victory. Humanity's forces were outnumbered 50-1. Outgunned, outmatched, facing the greatest fleet in galactic history. And yet, they refused to surrender. Voss, Kane, and the best human minds crafted a strategy so insane, it just might work. Lure the Doomsday Fleet into the abyss expanse, a massive region of space filled with unstable gravitational anomalies. Even the Council feared it. Use guerrilla warfare. Humanity's stealth ships would strike and disappear, cutting off key Council warships. Turn the Council's power against them. If they could infiltrate the Eternal Wrath, they could take control of the entire Doomsday Fleet. It was a suicide mission. And yet, every soldier, every pilot, every engineer volunteered. Because this was humanity's last stand. The Battle of the Abyss. The Doomsday Fleet arrived with fire and fury. Thousands of warships, energy cannons burning, shields shimmering. They fired at anything that moved. But the humans were ready. From the darkness, Earth's warriors struck. Stealth bombers weaved through enemy fire, launching EMP torpedoes that disabled key ships. Hacker squads infiltrated Council comms, spreading misinformation, turning their own fleets against each other. Sabotage teams snuck aboard the largest ships, planting explosive charges. The Council fought back viciously. Hundreds of human ships were lost. Entire battalions were wiped out, but they did not break. And then, at the heart of the chaos, a single strike team breached the Eternal Wrath. The final gamble. Inside the colossal warship, Captain Ilara Kane led her team through the corridors, plasma rifles in hand. Their mission: take control of the Doomsday Fleet. But High Inquisitor Drelsh was waiting. A brutal firefight erupted. Humans versus the best warriors the Council had. One by one, Kane's squad fell. But she pushed forward, covered in blood and dust, until she reached the command core. With a final, desperate act, she overrode the ship's control systems. Across the battlefield, the Doomsday Fleet's warships suddenly turned. And then, to the horror of the Council, they fired on their own forces. The Eternal Wrath betrayed its own armada. The Council's greatest fleet was destroying itself and humanity. They had won. The aftermath. A new dawn. The battle was over. The Council's mightiest force had fallen. Supreme Chancellor Vrothak, his empire in ruins, fled into the void. And for the first time in history, humanity stood victorious. Across the galaxy, oppressed species rose in rebellion. The Council's control crumbled, and at the heart of it all, humanity was no longer in exile. They were the new rulers of the stars. The rise of the Terran Empire. The Council was no more. Its fleets lay in ruins, its leaders either dead or in hiding. The once mighty rulers of the galaxy had fallen before a species they had exiled, a species they thought would perish in the cold void of space. They were wrong. Now, humanity stood on the precipice of something greater, an empire of its own making. But empires are not built on victories alone. They are forged in the fires of ambition, diplomacy, and war. The price of victory. In the aftermath of the greatest battle the galaxy had ever seen, General Marcus Voss surveyed the wreckage from the bridge of the Eagle's Talon. The battlefield was littered with twisted warships, drifting debris, and the silent echoes of fallen warriors. This was their greatest triumph. And yet, it did not feel like victory. The Doomsday Fleet had been destroyed, but at a terrible cost. Half of humanity's remaining forces had been lost. Their resources were stretched thin. Their soldiers, weary. Their allies, uncertain. Voss turned to his officers. We won the battle. But the war for the future has just begun. The broken throne. With the council shattered, the galaxy had become a warlord's playground. Factions that had once cowered beneath the council's rule now sought power for themselves. Former allies now saw an opportunity to carve out their own dominions. Some worlds welcomed humanity as liberators. Others saw them as conquerors. And deep in the void, whispers spread. The last remnants of the council had vanished into the unknown regions. Rumors spoke of a final weapon, a last hope for those who still dreamed of erasing humanity from existence. The coronation of humanity. In the heart of Sanctuary Prime, the first galactic assembly was held. For the first time in history, species from every corner of the galaxy gathered, not under the rule of the council, but as free beings. They looked to humanity to lead them. Voss stepped forward, flanked by Captain Ilara Kane and the surviving war heroes. His voice carried across the assembly. We were cast out, hunted, nearly erased, but we endured. He paused, scanning the faces of thousands of leaders. The council ruled with fear. We will rule with strength. A silence fell over the hall. Then, one by one, voices began to rise, a chant that echoed across the chamber, across the stars. Terra Invicta, Earth unconquered. The Terran Empire was born, the shadows in the dark. But even as the galaxy celebrated, an unseen threat moved in the depths of space, far beyond the known stars. A hidden fleet gathered. Not council ships, something worse. In a dimly lit chamber, Supreme Chancellor Vrothak knelt before a colossal figure cloaked in darkness. Humanity has taken the throne, Vrothak growled, rage in his eyes. A voice, ancient and cold, rumbled from the shadows. Then we will burn their throne to the ground. A new war was coming, and this time, humanity would face a power even they might not survive.